Hello guys, you're welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time of getting to this channel, I want to say you're welcome. And if you have been one of my subscribers, I say welcome back once again. So today we are going to be working with this Duchess fabric to cut the bubu that you are seeing on the screen. It is not the regular bubu, okay? So that is what we are going to be cutting today. The first thing you need to do is to make sure that you fold your fabric into two according to the biggest body circumference, which is the hip. Okay, so the hip of this person is 45 and we are going to be working with that 45 for all the bodies. We don't need the bust measurements or the waist measurements. We only need our shoulder and then the gown length and then the hip measurement. So let us get into the video. Now I have folded the fabric into two, and when folding, I folded according to the shoulder plus extra allowance and then the length. So the shoulder is 17. I added half an inch to it. That is where that yellow chalk stopped, and then from there I added 17 inches allowance. Now I'm going to mark the same thing on the bodies, which means my shoulder divided by 2 plus 17 inches. That is what I'm going to be marking all through. So once that is in place, I'm going to mark it. The next thing for us to do is to go back to the beginning of our fabric area to the length of the fabric. The necessary chalking. Okay. So from the shoulder area, if you look at the edge, you will see the fabric, the factory hemming. So I'm not going to be using that. I will just mark from the down part of that fabric edge. Okay, I'm going to cut off the fabric edge. So I'm going to mark from that half an inch and I'll come down to get the length of my customer's gown. So the length I'm working with is length 58. Okay, so on that length 58, I'm going to add just 1 inch for the allowance because the hem is going to be a very tiny one. So I'm just going to be adding just 1 inch for it. Don't forget I would have added my half an inch on the shoulder to join the shoulder. Now, after putting that in place, we are going to make sure that all the sides are equal. You can see that I secured it with pins so that it will not be moving, especially when you're working with fabrics that doesn't stay in place. So at the edge like this, I'm going to come down by 1.5 inch. That will serve as my shoulder slope. So I'm going to be connecting that shoulder slope later on. But from the shoulder slope, I am going to mark my sleeve opening, of which we still will not need it for now. It is until after joining that we are going to be needing it. But I'll be working with sleeve opening of 14 inches. And I'll be adding extra 1 inch or 2 inches allowance, depending on you. Now, after everything has been put in place, I'm going to go to the folded edge, which is very close to my side. I want to shift it enough so that you can see what I am doing. So I'm going to be marking my neck width. The neck width I'm working with is 4 inches. And from that 4 inches, I'm going to come down by 1 inch. You could do 1.5 depending on you, but I'm going to be working with 1 inch for the purpose of this tutorial. That will be my back neckline. We are cutting the back of this fabric first because there is a slit in the front. So I'm going to go ahead and connect the neckline like you see me doing, and then I will connect the shoulder slope. Don't forget, I said when you're working with a very slippery fabric like this, you need to make sure that your pin is your friend. You're going to secure it very well so that one place will not be longer than the other. Then after doing all of this, we can now proceed into joining our shoulder slope. So after pinning it, I went ahead to cross-check my neck area and I noticed that the fabric has already shifted, so I have to mark it again. So you have to be very careful if you are cutting directly on this fabric. Then I mark my neckline all over again just to create my back neckline. So I'll connect from that neck width to my shoulder slope. Just look at the way I'm going to place the ruler. I'm going to place it in such a way that the fabric are going to relax. Then I'm going to connect from that shoulder slope at the hem to that neck area, which is the neck width. And that's about the shoulder slope. So after getting that in place, I'll go ahead and mark the length of my gown. So from that shoulder, I am going to go down and check the length of my gown and make sure that the cloth is not shifting. The next thing is just to cut the neck area, cut the shoulder slope, and then cut the side all straight down on that 26 inches that I marked earlier. Okay, forget how we get that 26 inches. It's not constant. It's just your shoulder plus the length of your sleeve. Okay, the shoulder I'm working with is 8 inches, and then I added 17 inches for my shoulder length and for my sleeve length, I mean. And then we create our shoulder slope. So I'm going to be cutting everything off, and I'm going to be showing you what we have next. So after cutting that back panel, the next thing for us to do is to grab our remaining fabric and fold into two. And this time around, when we are folding, we are not folding in such a way that the front will be on fold. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. The front is going to have a slit, therefore the front is going to have an opening. So you are going to fold it in such a way that the opening area is going to be facing you. Now I have folded this into two, and I make sure that that front is very straight, and make sure that it aligns together. So I'm trying to pin it down together because this fabric is very slippery. It's a silk duchess. Okay, so I have to pin it together and cut the excess that will not make it to be straight. So after pinning it together like this, I'll go ahead and mark 1 inch from that front area. From the edge inward, I'm going to mark 1 inch, all through downward I'm going to mark down 1 inch. So after marking that 1 inch from the beginning to the edge, I'm going to go ahead and cut out all excesses in the front. And that's about that. So I'm going to go to the upper side of the cloth to mark the necessary points. So the same thing that we did for the back panel is what we are going to be doing. You mark the shoulder divided by 2, and then you add the length of your sleeve to it. So that will give us 26 inches altogether. So whatever it is that we have there, we are going to connect it all through. Okay, just like we did the other time. You mark it especially at the back of the 1 inch. I mean, it has to be from the back of the 1 inch. You're not going to mark the 26 inches from the edge of your fabric. Okay, so on the hem, I'm going to create the shoulder slope. My camera is not capturing here, and then I'll connect it to my neck width. Don't forget the neck width that we are working with. So I'm just going to go ahead and connect the neck width to my shoulder slope. So the next thing for us to do now is to mark whatever it is that we have from that 1 inch down to the sleeve length, and mark it all the way around. I'm going to mark it on the exact place of the hip, every angle of the body, all around. I'm going to mark that 26 inches and then downward. Then I'm going to use the ruler to connect it all through. Now this is what we have. So from the shoulder slope down like that, I have marked the 26 inches that I am working with. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark it downward straight. Just going to go ahead and cut it downward all through. So after getting that done, the next thing is to move back to our shoulder area and finish what we started. We are going to be cutting out the shoulder slope. Okay, and before then we need to mark our front neckline. Can you see that? We have already marked our neck width. The neck width I'm working with is 4 inches, the same neck width that I used for back panel. Okay, so I'm going to be marking that same 4 inches. It is very important to cross-check your neck width if you are working with this type of fabric. Then the neck depth for this front, the front has a V-neck, so I'm going to be marking on 8 inches for this person. So I'm going to be cutting on 8 inches. Okay, so I have my 8 inches in place, and then I'm going to connect it like so, V-neck. I'm going to be using my ruler to connect from that 1 inch down to my shoulder, not from the edge but from the back of that 1 inch. Okay, just like when you are creating V-neck for a back of a dress that have zipper allowance, but this time around this is not a zipper allowance, it's just a way of creating a slit on the front. So this is what we have. I'm just going to blend it with my free hand because this cloth is just shaking. The next thing for us to do now is to cut out our shoulder slope and then cut out the neck area. And mind you, when you're cutting the neck, make sure that you secure every part of it with pin. Even the shoulder, I have to secure with pin and then cut it through. So after doing that, we are done cutting the bodies. So guys, the next thing for us to do is to cut that drape that falls from one shoulder to the other. So when you want to do that, we are just going to cut a straight stripe, like a straight fabric. So for this video, I'm going to be working with this fabric that is as long as 38 inches because it's going to fall directly on somewhere between my bust point and then the under bust. Okay, and for this person the bust point is 12 inches, so I'm just going to be folding it into two and I will measure the length that I want, and don't forget to add excess to it for that fall at the center. So I'll be working with 38 inches so that by the time I join half an inch on each shoulder, I'm going to be having 37 inches, and 37 inches divided by 2, half of it is going to fall on each side, and that is that about that. And then for the width of this drape, I am working with 18 inches. So when I fold it, it's going to be 9 inches eventually. Don't forget to add your half an inch stitching allowance to it. So after cutting it out, the only thing that you have to do is just to fold it into two and stitch the side, the right side facing the right side, so that you can turn it outside later. And that is that about that drape. So in my next video, where I'll be showing you how to sew this particular bubu, I'm going to show you how I will attach this drape to the shoulder, and that is the curve. I'm just trying to show you how it will fall on the shoulder. Okay, so just cut your drape according to the length that you want it to fall. So guys, we have come to the end of this video. Thank you for staying tuned to this present moment. Please don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you can get notified anytime I drop a new video. I'm going to see you in the part 2 of this video. Bye bye. See you guys.